Well, we're going to move now to our top story, the extradition of Tahawwur Rana, one of the masterminds in the 26/11 carnage in Mumbai several years back. Will there finally be justice for those who've suffered so much? We've got a great panel with us. Remember, Tahawwur Rana will be in India in the next couple of hours. I'm joined now by Hemant Oberoi. He was a former Grand Executive Chef of the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel. He saved the lives of many people. He was more than a witness to what exactly took place over there. Professor Rajita Kulkarni is a survivor of 26/11. Robert Dobbs, an expert on intelligence and counter-terrorism. PK Jain, ex-additional Director General of Police in Maharashtra. And Sushant Sareen, strategic affairs expert, somebody who tracks terror out of Pakistan very closely. Hemant Oberoi, you saved the lives of so many on that day. And I hate to bring you back to that moment, but I think it's important that people hear your voice today when there is this process of justice. Where were you when the first grenades exploded, when the first gunshots were heard?
I was actually outside my office only and was about to take the rounds of the kitchens. Actually, that was my everyday routine. And one of my colleagues called up and he said, "Sir, the shooting is going on." And I thought, I took it lightly that every week there's a film shooting going on at Gateway of India. So I thought it was another shooting. I said, "That's every week." He says, "No, sir, a person is shot dead outside our restaurant." And that's where I heard another gunshot. And I told him, just switch off the lights and just close the doors and latch them up. And just send the message to other kitchens also. So that's where the message went, and these people started firing at random in the corridors, and they went to the pool side and they started firing over there. And then there was a chaos for a little while. But we had a wedding that night for about 150 people, and we shut down the doors of those main doors to the crystal room, and that's how those lives were saved actually.
Could you tell us what you did immediately in terms of evacuating the people near you?
You see, our first job was to make sure that these people do not enter the guest area. So we brought everybody slowly to the chambers, which is our club, and which is very secluded place. And if they have to pass from to go to chambers, they had to either go through the lobby or go through our kitchens. So we had blocked everything from the kitchen, between the kitchen and the other corridors, so that they can't come through the kitchens. So we brought everybody to safety in the chambers. And that's where they were there till about 3:30 in the morning. And that's where we started the evacuation. And they came to know because somebody said the evacuation has started on the television, and that's how they entered the kitchens and started firing. There were some lucky ones who escaped, who had already moved out of the Taj Mahal Hotel, but there was some unlucky ones who got caught in the fire. And that's how we lost so many people, including 7 of my chefs that night.
Were there several moments when you felt that your chances of coming out of this alive were minuscule, that this was an encounter which just seemed to be going on and on, there was significant loss of life all around, and that perhaps it was inevitable that the people that you rescued, you yourself, may not make it?
That was not the thought which came into our minds at all throughout the night. It never came. Our whole thing was that, the guest has come to your house and we have to save their lives. That's how we worked in the night.
When did you first get clarity that, look, things were getting better, the encounter was over, security forces had prevailed, and that you would be able to get all of the people you rescued out, that you yourself would be able to get out?
That was the next morning when NSG commandos had come by about 5:36 in the morning. And that's where we got a little assurance, that we can evacuate most of the people now.
Mr. Oberoi, just in terms of where you were physically located, I know you escorted people to safety. Did you personally see any of the attackers?
Yes, from a distance of about 30 feet or so, maybe. and he was toward my office and I was toward the chambers. So that's in the corridor I could see him.
Have you ever been able to come close to getting over what you experienced or what you went through in that 24-hour plus period?
I think it's the memories which come back every year, but the life has to move on. And that's where we, on the second or third day, when we came back and we started the renovation process we had started. And within 30 days, we were back on our track. All the restaurants were operational on 24th of December.
Wow, Mr. Oberoi, just be with us. We're also joined by Professor Rajita Kulkarni, a 26/11 attack survivor. Ma'am, thanks very much for being with us. Where were you during 26/11?
Vishnuji, thank you for inviting me. And I was in the Taj Mahal Hotel as well. And I think I want to take this opportunity to really acknowledge Mr. Oberoi and his entire team, the entire team of Taj Hotel, who went above and beyond their call of duty to protect us, to make us secure. In fact, Vishnuji, some of the stills that you are showing is one of the stills of me and my husband running outside the Taj Hotel the next morning. I'm in a red dress, not this particular still, but the next one which will come. And, I was in the chambers as well later. As Mr. Oberoi said, we were first in the masala craft with a guest who was a member of the European Parliament, a German lady. And then I can see myself on the screen. It's quite bringing back the memories. And we were in masala craft, and then we were asked to move to the chambers. So like Mr. Oberoi just said, we were guided through the back areas of the service entrances and through the kitchen areas into the chambers. And at about 3:30, like he rightly said, we were asked to evacuate, but we were the ones who could not because the firing started and we had to turn back. I was with my husband, Mr. Ajay Bagga, and there were a number, at least 150, maybe 200 CEOs, very senior business people, members of parliament from India. All of us were in the chamber. So at about 3:30, then we had to really rush back into the chambers. And that was really a hostage situation till we were evacuated in the morning around 9:30 or so when the NSG could reach us. And by the time, of course, we could move back and reach our homes, it was much after lunchtime. So yes, that is how it was. And today, I think the extradition of Mr. Rana is therefore a monumental achievement for our country. And I would like to thank our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Jaishankarji, and also the President of the United States and the Supreme Court of the United States for taking this really bold step and bringing back Rana. And I'm quite sure that this will bring justice. And it is a huge day for all martyrs, everyone who sacrificed their lives, all survivors and all families, and us as a country, because this was an attack on the sovereignty of India. And today we are, showing that we mean business. We have been at it strategically for these years, 17 years now, but we have reached this milestone today.
Just be with us. I'm going to come back to both you and Mr. Oberoi. Sushant Sareen, from a legal standpoint, and in terms of gathering more information potentially on the role of Pakistan, the ISI and the Pakistan Army, how significant is the extradition of Tahawwur Rana?
Vishnu, I think the extradition is significant because this guy is the first, one of the guys who was an integral part of the conspiracy who is now going to be tried in Indian courts. Kasab was a foot soldier, if at all. But it's insulting soldiers to even call a terrorist a foot soldier. But that is what he was. Tahawwur Rana is a guy who was not just an integral part of the conspiracy, but a very important linchpin in that how the entire conspiracy was hatched. And provided all the logistic support and the other, support to people like Headley and all who had come for recce purposes. So his extradition and his trial will, of course, bring in a lot more new information onto the public domain as the trial proceeds. Now, Rana is going to receive his comeuppance. I think we will throw the book at him. But what is going to be important is how do we then proceed against the other guys who were involved in this entire conspiracy, people who are living in the safe custody of the Pakistanis. Some of them are alleged to have been thrown into jail on other charges, but we clearly know that that's not what has happened with them. So they are living in relative comfort inside Pakistan. And the real challenge for the government of India is going to be how do we bring them to justice? Now, one way of doing this, Vishnu, is to go through the normal legal channels and the normal diplomatic channels. And frankly, that's like butting your head against the wall, because given the kind of state that Pakistan is and given their mindset, I don't think you're going to get any closure out there. But I would imagine, and this is something I feel very strongly about, that the Indian legal system must have a provision of holding trials in absentia of terrorists who have been involved in acts of mass murder in India, and the court should be competent enough to pass, a judgment on them, whether it is life imprisonment or whether it is a death sentence, whatever that judgment might be. I can't prejudge that, but the court should be competent to pronounce it, and then the government should be in a position to give the necessary instructions to the security agencies to mete out that punishment in whichever way they think possible and necessary. And I don't see why this kind of a process cannot be evolved in India to target terrorists based in countries like Pakistan.
Okay, so that's a larger question. We'll talk about that if we have time. But let me go across to P.K. Jain, the ex-additional Director General of Police in Maharashtra. It might be useful at this stage to talk a little bit about, the man on the screen, David Coleman Headley. While Tahawwur Rana is coming back to India, Mr. Jain, the fact is that it seems unlikely that we'll get David Coleman Headley. There are all sorts of reports. Apparently, he's in the United States on a different identity now. He was perhaps a double agent, and he got some sort of a plea bargain, perhaps. Is that what the real disappointment is? Because unlike Tahawwur Rana, David Coleman Headley was physically in Mumbai. He was doing recce operations. He was trained by the ISI. He was trained by the Lashkar, I should say, both in Pakistan. And it was his physical reconnaissance which, in a sense, enabled these operations to take place.
Vishnuji, namaskar. Thank you very much for having me on the show. Yes, you are very correct in saying that there is information available in the market that David Coleman is probably a double agent. He was dealing in narcotics, and that is how the narcotics, the DEA in US, they recruited him and they wanted him to be a double agent for all the smuggling that was taking place between Pakistan and US of drugs and from other countries. And he was not only arrested, not only once, he was taken into custody twice, thrice in his career, and every time he would enter into a kind of a plea bargain and get out of the clutches. The first time he got was a sentence of 4 years. And subsequently, in this particular case, or in a subsequent case, he got a sentence of 35 years. Now, while Tahawwur Rana, who is now coming to India, may be a goldmine of information for the intelligence agencies and for our operations in future, David Coleman is still out of our clutches. Till the time the government of US wants that he should be extradited, we may not be able to lay our hands on him, which is very, very sad, because he was the person. Tahawwur Rana, of course, was the guy who planned everything, who made things possible. He provided the logistic support. But David Coleman was obviously the man on the spot. He visited the hotels, he visited the other areas in Mumbai, and chalked out a detailed plan as to how the attack should take place and what are the soft points in Mumbai where they should hit. So I think sometime in future, maybe I'm sure that the government of India, the Honorable Prime Minister and the External Affairs Minister, they are all working on this particular aspect also. But as of now, the chances of his coming back to India are rather slim. Okay. So we must remain content with what we are getting now. Tomorrow, this man is going to land up. There are 2-3 angles of interrogation and investigation which I foresee. One is from the NIA point of view. This man may be interrogated on the other sleeper cells available in India who are lying dormant. may be activated by the ISI at some time in future, their handlers, their operations, the kind of stuff they have with them, and his intelligence about the Pakistani army, Pakistan ISI, and the government of Pakistan, because he was very well networked into the Pakistan. You know his entire brief. Even Headley, for that matter, his father was a spokesperson for the earlier Prime Minister of Pakistan. There are a whole lot of linkages in that. So I think both of them will be goldmine of information to Indian agencies. But for whatever reasons, we will not be able to lay our hands on David Coleman as of now.
All right, so just hold on for a moment. I'm also joined by Robert Dobbs. He's an expert on intelligence and counterterrorism. Based on what we know so far, the role of Pakistan, absolutely clear. The role of the ISI, there have been recordings, audio recordings of the attack, taking place, of handlers monitoring the attack taking place on Chabad House in Mumbai, the Jewish center over there. Do you believe that, bringing Tahawwur Rana to India would give India necessarily any more evidence than what India already possesses?
Well, I think it comes down to the fact of how they're able to put pressure on Rana, maybe through, assigning him as a death penalty case and negotiating from there that he would provide more intelligence and information to the Indian government. I believe that, they can get some actionable intelligence from him. We also have to remember that, there's a bigger network that Rana was working within, basically Dawood Ibrahim, Mohammed Dosa, who is still, holed up in the UAE. And that's another, subject that should be brought to justice as well. As far as with Mr. Coleman, I think if India presents the, if you want to say, dossier on him to the Trump administration, I believe President Trump would ensure that Mr. Coleman would meet his fate in India as well.
Sushant, go ahead.
Yeah, Vishnu, the only problem in the case of Headley is that he is already serving a sentence, I think, of 34 years. Mr. Jain would probably know. I think it's 34 years.
35 years.
So I don't see how they are going to, pluck him out of jail and send him to India. I think Mr. Jain is right that we'll have to wait until at least he serves out that sentence. The fact that he has not been sentenced for the 26/11 attacks, like in the case of Tahawwur Rana, for example, his sentence was on the plotting of the Denmark attacks. So there is no double jeopardy in Tahawwur Rana's case. So the moment he served his sentence and the Indians were plugging for his extradition, so the moment his sentence was served, we pushed ahead with the extradition treaty, and it was for the extradition, and it was granted to us. I think Headley's case is going to be different. I completely agree with Mr. Dobbs on the other extraditions. And I think the UAE countries in the Middle East have been far more forthcoming and haven't put us through the hoops in extraditing some of the big criminals, including people like Abu Jandal and all, who were part of this particular conspiracy. They were extradited earlier. So there is still some hope that maybe we can get some of these criminals who might be in the Middle East, in the UAE or some of the other countries. We could get them out here. But as far as the Pakistanis are concerned, I think we need to be very clear, Vishnu. I have no doubts on that count, that you have to take them out wherever they are.
Okay.
And I see why India should not do this. Other countries, the US, for example, has this policy. I don't see any reason why that should not become a template for India as well. Now, it's a question of capabilities and it's a question of opportunities that we might get. That if it means that we have to wait for 10 years before we mete out the punishment to them, we should wait for 10 years.
Okay.
We are a 1,000-year-old civilization. Waiting another 10 or 15 or 20 to these terrorists is not such a big deal.
Professor Rajita Kulkarni, ma'am, are you, has there been closure in your mind about what you experienced on those days?
Well, this is an incident, Vishnuji, you can never get closure on an incident like this, on an experience like this. And I think this is a national memory. It's a national trauma. Our sovereignty was attacked. we as a city of Mumbai, the pulse of the country was attacked. So I would wish that we should not forget an incident like this so that we can continue to uphold our national security and ensure that something like this never happens again. Personally, for me, I'm an art of living teacher, meditator. So doing some of these things definitely have helped heal the wounds. And the memories of what happened that night and how the 72 hours transpired for the whole city of Mumbai, to have a live terror situation for 3.5 days is not a small thing by any measure. So I think an incident like this will never go away from our memories, and it should stay alive to the extent that we can protect ourselves always. So that is how it is for me. Of course, like Mr. Oberoi said, one has to continue, living life in the best possible way, and that is what I think all of us are doing.
Chef Oberoi, could you tell us a little bit about the 7 people, the 7 chefs who worked under you, who you lost? They reported to you. You worked very closely with them. Could you tell us about some of your memories about them?
Yeah, probably Chef Banja, who was my deputy, and he was just coming out from the dining room to tell me that they are coming down from the old building from the 6th floor. They are coming down, and by the time he could come out to tell me, the terrorist was right in front of him, and he shot him at point blank range in the head. I mean, the poor fellow didn't have any chance even to say anything. Within seconds, he was no more. Mm-hmm. Young boys, 22 to 24 years old. I mean, what had they done wrong to anybody? They were just saving the lives of people. They were making food for the people who were there with us. They were making sandwiches, tea, coffee, everything. And what wrong they had done that these people shot them at a point blank range? I mean, this is, I will never pardon them for anything.
No, I don't think anybody will pardon them for anything at all. It's just, it's just horrific. I'm joined now by YC Modi, former Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, the investigating agency. Thanks very much for being with us, Mr. Modi. What do you think, the interrogation of Tahawwur Rana when he comes over here, what do you think investigators will be looking for?
Vishnu will have to understand one thing. He has not been active for last 15 years. He has been in jail. And we cannot find any links of him or any information about the recent incidents. But at the time of that heinous crime of Mumbai attacks, he was one of the masterminds, and his other colleague has turned approver, and he has thrown him under the bus. That way we expect that when he will come to India tomorrow, and when our agencies will interrogate him, we will get certain important links which we were not aware when because of not getting him. Now we will be getting him, and we can certainly get a lot of information through which Pakistan, which is already known as a terrorist country, will be exposed more and more.
Isn't it wonderful, Mr. Modi, that we have that extradition agreement, that it's functional? It's obviously taken time. It went right up to the US Supreme Court. It went through the system of appeals. But then at the end of the day, that extradition process has worked in our benefit. This terrorist is being brought back to India. I would suggest that this is one of the big benefits that have come from this relationship with America. I mean, it's a maturity in that relationship which has worked for us when we need it, right?
Yes. Political will is the first thing to get any accused extradited. And in his case, talks were held at the top level, political level, and we in NIA supported those things with the evidence which is required to ensure extradition of any accused. Because in any extradition, there are two things. One is evidence, completion of legal requirement, which Indian agencies, especially NIA and MEA did, while the political will was shown by the government. And because of that, because of the coordinated efforts, his extradition could be possible.
Robert Dobbs, India faces a serious threat of terror. We have for decades now, from Pakistan, from elsewhere. There's the threat of Khalistani terrorism and Khalistani sympathizers, also in the United States, in the United Kingdom and Canada. Do you believe that India can hope to get more justice through the route of extradition from the United States?
I do believe so, because I believe Prime Minister Modi has a unique relationship with President Donald Trump, and that good, unique relationship fosters more cooperation. When you talk about the Khalistani terrorists, you see how basically Canada has been harboring these terrorists and not cooperating with India. And it would be my hope that the United States, should they have any evidence of these terrorists within the United States, and the fact that President Donald Trump has put a major focus on terrorism within the United States, that these individuals will be brought to justice in India. And, you know, again, I would say my heart goes out to the Indian people, because I was a counterterrorism soldier. I've been in combat, and I have seen these animals face to face. And the only thing that we can do with these people is eliminate them, because they are a dread to society.
Well, those are very strong words, and I think many people would entirely agree with what you say over there. I'd like to thank you all very much for being with us, and Professor Kulkarni and Hemant Oberoi. It's just so, it's touching to have you on our program today. It's after all of these years, and to hear about what those hours meant for you, and hopefully what the process of justice means for all of us. We'll take a short break. There's more coming up.